Hi, I'm Todd Henderson. Today I want to show you how to install Gladiator running boards on a set of brackets. Now these are specific to a Silverado. Whatever truck you have, you'll get a specific bracket kit. The way the Gladiator mounts to the bracket kit's always the same. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're starting on the driver's side. We're directly behind the front tire. This is your pinch weld. We're going to follow the pinch weld back to where we have a welded nut that's on the pinch weld. Now up above that welded nut, there's also going to be a threaded hole. So we're going to use these two locations. All right, now we're going to take our 30mm bolt out of our hardware packet that has the instructions in it, go up through the bottom side of this welded nut. Now you may need to clean out those threads if it's never been used before. So once we get that in there, we're just going to tighten it down using a 13mm. All right, next we're going to locate the correct bracket. Now here's the two types of brackets that come in your kit. When you look at the foot of the bracket, this is the portion the board sits on. You see an oval hole, circle hole, oval hole. Now the part that mounts to the rocker panel and pinch weld looks like this. Now your front bracket is just going to have two oval holes. Your rear bracket is also going to have a round hole up at the top of that bracket. So we're going to set the rear bracket to the side and go to our front bracket. This is for the first two bracket locations. We've got a hole down right past where the bend is, and that's going to hang right on top of that nut. Now we are going to loosely install a serrated flange nut on top of that bolt. We're also going to push the bracket up against the rocker panel with it still kind of bearing down on that nut. That gets everything out of the way so we can finish tightening that down. Now that we have this nut just kind of in place, loosely installed, we're going to go ahead and turn our attention to that threaded hole up at the top. In our kit, we've also got a smaller metric bolt. We're going to use a washer along with that and go into the threaded hole up top. This also may need to be cleaned out. All right, now we've got this bolt just holding the bracket up against the rocker panel. We do not have it tightened down all the way, but we do have it flush against the rocker panel. Now that's going to hold this bracket in place. We're going to go ahead and tighten this nut down so that it draws the bracket down onto the factory nut. Once this is drawn down, we're going to go ahead and go up to the top again and tighten this down to the rocker panel. Very important, just make sure this is not pulled away from the rocker panel while we're tightening this down. All right, now we're going to the second bracket location. Here's our second factory welded nut. This is the only other factory welded nut on the pinch weld. This is our next location. Directly above there, again, we have that threaded hole. Now ours has got a bunch of junk in it, so we're going to need to clean that out. But this is going to install the exact same way as the front one. And these are the two front brackets. So there again, we're going to select the bracket that does not have the hole up at the top. Now we're going to go to our next location back. We're going to follow this back to where we're going to have a hole in the pinch weld directly below a hole in the rocker panel. Now next to that hole in the rocker panel, there's going to be a little round plug. That plug has to come out. Once we get that out of the way, we're going to discard it. Next, we're going to grab a U-nut or a clip nut. Now this is going to insert into the rocker panel through that through the larger hole and go over top of the smaller hole. That way we've got our threads back behind the rocker panel. You'll hear it clip into place. Now I'm going to grab one of our rear brackets. This has got the hole in the top of the bracket. I'm going to use one of our 30mm long bolts, the longer bolt in the kit, go up through that hole in the pinch weld. I'm also using a washer. And I'm going to take and hang that bracket on that bolt. Use a serrated flange nut to put onto the top of the bolt. I'm not going to tighten it down just yet. In our kit, I'm going to go ahead and grab the shorter bolt along with a washer and go through that hole that we now have threads in. I'm going to install that into there. I'm not going to tighten it down all the way, but I do want to make sure the bracket is firmly against the rocker panel. I give that finger tight and I draw it down to the pinch weld. Once I've got that in place, I'm going to snug everything up a little bit I'm going to use my ratchet. This is the 13mm ratchet I've been using. I'm going to tighten this down just to get it snug, and then I'm going to tighten down the pinch weld bolt. Now I also need to use a 13mm wrench to hold the bolt at the pinch weld so it doesn't spin. Once we have the pinch weld bolt tightened up, go ahead and tighten up the rocker panel. Now we're going to move back on the pinch weld to the last hole in the pinch weld. There's a hole directly above that as well, with again a plastic plug that's covering that up. Just like last time, we're going to remove that plastic plug. We'll insert the clip nut, and we're going to install this bracket exactly the same as the last bracket. All right, so this is how you install the Gladiator running board on a set of brackets. Take the board, you're going to flip it upside down. On the bottom side of the board, you're going to notice you got a couple of tracks. So this has 4 brackets on the install, so we're going to have 4 bolts per track. We're going to drop the bolt into the channel in the end cap and slide it down the board. All right, now we're going to go ahead and turn the board back over, and we're going to set it on top of the brackets. We're going to line the bolts up to the holes in the brackets. Now we have all the bolts coming down through the brackets. We're going to loosely install the serrated flange nuts onto the bolts. We don't want to tighten them down because we still want to be able to center this board on the body of the truck. We're going to do that on all brackets. All right, so next what we're going to do is we're going to center the board front to back on the cab. That can still slide back and forth. We can also push it out away from the vehicle or get it to where it's tucked in a little more underneath the vehicle. Once you get it where you want it, then we're going to go through and we're going to tighten everything down with a 1/2 inch wrench or ratchet. And do that to all 4 brackets. Well, that concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts. We're here to help you out.